What's the hardest truth you've learned in your life? Your health matters way more than you think it does when you are young. I'ma pretend like I didn't read that and instead learn it the hard way. My life. That even your best friend can turn into a stranger rather fast. My best friend moved across the country and now it's hard to find things to talk about. Our lives are just so different. Happened to me. I've flown out to him and he comes back every once in a while. Video games has saved our relationship from drifting apart though. We have a common interest that can unite us every night. Some people just like to do harm. Doesn't matter how well you treat them. Never take that stuff personal. It's solely a direct reflection of themselves and their past issues or experiences. Yes, that's so true. But everyone with no exceptions need to understand that there is consequences for their actions. It is possible to F up so hard that you just have to move on. There is no making up for it. No forgiveness. Been there. Don't wish it on my worst enemy. Hope you're better now. You can't expect to be treated the way you treat others. This is a rough one and surprisingly difficult to come to terms with. Unconditional love and willingness to sacrifice anything for someone does not guarantee that they will feel the same way about you. Sometimes when you sacrifice they lose all respect for you. Going through this now honestly made me turn to stoicism and Taoism. Someone I thought was different to most people I've come across in my life just straight up ghosted me like it was nothing. Now I have come to terms with the fact that people are who they are and you have to accept it whether you like it or not because you have no choice. When you put someone on a pedestal, they have no choice but to look down on you. This is something I had to learn the hard way, but it has been a great learning experience. That time goes fast, really fast, and the older you get the faster it goes. For so many years you thought you had plenty of time to decide on a future until you wake up one day still undecided. But now you realize that your life consists of more past than future and that despite the old axiom about how it's never too late, there's now a tight little knot in your stomach telling you that it probably is too late. Apostrophe. The older you get the faster it goes. Time dilation. When you're 80, your day will go by / 40% faster. That's why there were endless summers as a kid. 8 hours felt like an eternity back then. It's because you were experiencing and processing things for the first time as a kid. So your brain slowed things down to understand them. As you get older the vast majority of your life becomes more and more automated muscle memory. So time has less meaning to you now. This is where Monsieur Proust may step in and help you. His novel, In Search of Lost Time, grapples with this. Just because you love someone more than anything in the world doesn't mean they feel the same. Corollary 1. You need to love who you are in the relationship, not just who they are. Corollary 2. Just because someone loves the way you make them feel doesn't mean they love you. Exactly. 100%. You can become disabled just like that, and all the ramifications. Currently dealing with this myself. Went from a healthy college girl to being near bedridden in constant pain and needing a wheelchair most places. Erythromelalgia. I'm sorry, I'm bedridden myself. From me and use a wheelchair the few times a year I can leave my home. It's such a big change and very hard to deal with. Sometimes you are the bad guy. This plus how difficult it is to forgive yourself and how absolutely crushing guilt can be. Few people genuinely care about you. Recognize them. Accept them. Not because they are bad. Other people. Simply put, they have other priorities. That people eventually die, including loved ones. We have to be strong enough to take it. One day Ajahn Chah held up a beautiful Chinese teacup. To me this cup is already broken. Because I know its fate. I can enjoy it fully here and now. And when it's gone, it's gone. One day Ajahn Chah held up a beautiful Chinese teacup. To me this cup is already broken. Because I know its fate. I can enjoy it fully here and now. And when it's gone, it's gone. I never heard that. Thanks for sharing it. Love is not guaranteed. It wasn't guaranteed from the moment you were born. And it won't be guaranteed to be by your side when you take your final breaths. Don't take it for granted. Just simply enjoy it when you have it. Standing up for yourself and fighting for yourself can cause division, especially with family members. You can fight and you can win, but it won't be all sunshine and gumdrops afterwards. Sometimes it's a necessary evil in the long run, even if it feels like S at the time. No matter how many people love you, when S hits the fan you're more or less on your own. Which is why you have to always treasure those that help you when you're at your lowest. I definitely do. I'm not my best friend's best friend. Just as an example, let's say as a best man for a wedding, if I were to get married, there's one guy I know that I would ask to do this for me. If he were to get married, I know at least 3 people who'd have to say no for him to hit me up on this. Edit. The hard part is that I've never been anybody's best friend. Right there with you. That I should have tried. I notice that people who did try extremely hard in their youths will end up saying things surrounding regret about their efforts. Things like I probably should have lived a little or prob should have had more fun. People that didn't try hard will say the opposite. I guess maybe there's a balance, but it seems pretty two-sided from what I've heard. Both ways people regret their decisions. I do think trying is good though. Just an observation. Don't be lazy, it will lead to issues. Some people just don't care to apologize or don't care about your feelings and they will never validate you. You should only seek self-validation. Because at the end of the day, it's you who has to live with yourself. You know your own truth. This is especially true when it's a case of you getting super upset at a person and later that day you are still distressed over the situation. In reality, the other person hasn't even thought about it once since then. This is definitely true. Obviously there are certain relationships where it's more important to bring up these issues and talk them out. But there are also a lot of times where you're better off just reminding yourself that another person's opinion of you means nothing and is really none of your business. If someone did or said something that hurt you, just assume that they're worse off than you are, because it takes someone in a pretty low spot to be hurtful toward another human being. Choosing my battles has been a tough life lesson, and I still struggle with it at 32 years old. A few 1. Love is not enough to keep a relationship alive. 2. Sometimes the worst things you will say to someone will eventually be the last thing they will ever hear from you. Sorry dad. 3. You need to learn to properly open up on an emotional level with your partner. Being emotionally closed off will lead to a lot of issues. 4. Proper stretching and warm-ups before working out will save your joints and muscles in the long-term numbers. 5. Just stop with the excessive caffeine consumption. Moderation. No matter how hard you might work for something, sometimes your goal simply will never be within your reach and you're better off giving up and directing your efforts towards something else. It's impossible to know the future, which makes the decision even harder. No one cares about your birthday other than you. If you want it to be a special day, you need to be the one to make it special. Relying on other people to do it will only lead to disappointment. My girlfriend and I had been dating for less than a month when she surprised me in a parking lot after work with a DQ ice cream cake. I told her I had already made plans, and she said she understood as it was a complete surprise, but wanted to do something anyhow, since birthdays are special. I made it the whole way home to change before I realized what a mistake I had made. Called her up and was able to catch up before she went home too. We've been married 11 years. For some people, your best will never be good enough. You can say and do all the right things. You can listen and discuss in good faith. You can cater to all of someone's needs and wants. You can give them the world, and for some, they'll just keep taking more and never give back anything in return. You don't get what you deserve. You get what you negotiate. Learned this the hard way with my last job. No matter how much you care for and value someone, they are never obligated to be the same to you, especially friends. You can't protect your kid from the other parent when the abuse is emotional. It doesn't matter if you have enough money to hire a lawyer. I consulted with more than one because surely the first was wrong. It doesn't matter if your child has attempted suicide. It doesn't matter if your other child cut herself. It doesn't matter, because the powers that be don't believe girl children over an adult. Emotional abuse is technically illegal, functionally legal, and you can't protect your kids when it's the other parent that is abusing them. Yep, kids have no rights. BO parents can do things that any other person could never get away with. And well, if another person pulled that shit, society would demand that you intervene. But when a BO parent does it, you are a monster for trying to stop it. It's agonizing, especially when you see how their other children have fared, and it never leaves your home because your child suffers. Sometimes you do everything right and still fail. That is not weakness. That is life. The world doesn't treat you well just because you're a good person. That it doesn't always get better. Sometimes life is unendingly miserable and all you can really do is make peace with it. Sometimes that is how it gets better. Knowing things are as good as it gets takes a lot of weight off your shoulders. You are the only person responsible for your happiness.